The other thing that family trusts really help with is preservation of wealth in a way that wealth can flow down generations. Now, how does that happen? For starters, if you distribute your wealth through a will, really, as we mentioned, there isn't much control you have over how that person uses that wealth. Right. So, for instance, if you bequeath something like a life insurance policy, and you have a good payout of 20 million and it goes to someone, you have no way of putting structures for how that 20 million will be used. Now, in the alternative, when you're using a family trust, you can create structures for when this 20 million is paid, assuming that it's supposed to eventually benefit one of your children, you can have a structure where once the 20 million is paid, it's not handed over to that child that you want provision for. You have a trustee ensure that this amount is invested, and you can go as into details of what kind of investments are you mandating the trustee to invest this particular money in? So you can specify anything from bonds to money market funds to, the international investment opportunities, and give instructions for when income is made from this 20 million. So how does it get utilized? So you can give specifics of pay for these, beneficiary, always pay their school fees, always pay their medical cover, always ensure that they have an upkeep. And that way you are able, because now the 20 million is growing from whatever investments you have put them. So you ensure that your child has provision and on one hand, but the wealth is growing. Now, when we flip the coin, assuming that this child was not a very responsible child, or they were, they have spendthrift tendencies, or they have a drug addiction problem, the 20 million could really be blown away within a couple of months, right? But you see, with a trust structure, you ensure that that wealth is preserved. At the same time, family trust grants people an opportunity to allow their assets to not be subdivided in very small pieces. So, for instance, you may have land that is, you may have, like, say, 20 acres of land on which you are growing, say, something like pineapples. For as long as it's the 20 acres and you are counting on the economies of scale to do that business, then business becomes very, very productive. Now, if you have to bequeath that property through a will and you have 6 children, chances are you're going to have to subdivide this land amongst the 6 children. So even if the 6 children were to do the same business, but at now the smaller scales, the business the property may not still be very economically viable. But with the trust, you can put a structure for how the business will continue to run the way it was running, then have the proceeds distributed amongst the beneficiaries in whichever ratio you specify, or have it continued to be invested. So with trust structures, it's very, very easy to create a system where wealth is able to flow from one generation to the other in a way that a trust cannot a will cannot accord you the same opportunity.